Let's first take a minute and consider the importance of well-being. I think now more than ever, it's a subject that's at the heart of so many conversations. From a work perspective, well-being at work has been increasingly a boardroom conversation over the last 5 years, considering the physical and mental health of employees, encouraging them to bring their whole self to work and not just their best self, and giving true consideration to the spaces that are designed and provided, the services that are offered, and the support that is available to wrap around that. When we think about the future of work, we think about the office environment, we think about working from home, regardless of where that work might be done. The most important thing is that we always consider the health and well-being of all of our employees. When we look at the physical spaces, we've been on a journey over the last 5 to 10 years. To begin, well-being just wasn't considered in a workplace. It wasn't important. You left your personal self at the door, you clocked in, you did your work, and then you went home. Increasingly, there's a blurring between home life and work life. There's a rise in the number of people with diagnosed mental health conditions, and the topic is much more talked about than ever before. And that will only continue, particularly given the current circumstances and environment that most of us find ourselves in. One thing that is for sure is that the workplace is here to stay. What goes into that workplace, the design, the layout, the key components of that space may very well change. But one thing that we do know is that as humans, we need that social interaction. We need the ability to come together to work on projects, to develop products, to provide services. And all of the research that we've completed since COVID-19 kicked off across the world tells us that the thing that people miss the most is the social interaction and that human connection. So that is definitely something that is here to stay. When we talk about well-being in the broader sense, we factor in 6 key components: physical, mental, environmental, social, digital, and nutritional. One of the things that I want to talk about is the physical workplace and what that means from a well-being perspective. But we can't talk about the physical workplace in isolation, because the way of working and the service wrapper that goes around that is fundamental to making it a success. What we're seeing increasingly with our clients, particularly with new build projects or workplace transformations, is that well-being is at the heart of those discussions. There's been a gradual increase in the number of quiet spaces, the number of retreat areas, the number of counselling, coaching and support rooms that are available. Many are multi-purpose, they can be used for lots of different things, but employers are recognising that the expectation from their employees and from their people is changing. People are looking for more support than ever as the blurring between work and home continues. I guess now more than ever, the current environment that we're in, it's really unusual for me to film on my own at home in my living room, but this is becoming the norm. One thing that we do need to make sure of though is that we are looking after our own well-being, we're looking after the well-being of our people, of our colleagues, of our peers, and of our communities. Well-being can be a differentiator for us. If we think of it in terms of attracting and retaining the best talent, all of the research tells us that younger generations coming into the workforce, it's expected. Health and fitness is more important than ever. And that's not just down to social influencers. It's a lifestyle. And people expect that they have the ability to move more, to exercise, to bring their whole self to work, and to have choice. choice of when they do that, where they do that, and who they do that with. And that flexibility is most definitely here to stay. I'm now going to talk a little bit around employee experience and the increasing move towards making it a fundamental part of every organisation. We're seeing a large number of employees start to draw more significance from an integrated employee experience. So for us, that means looking at the spaces provided, the services, the technology, the ways of working, and well-being. Thinking first of all around the design of spaces, putting people at the heart of everything that goes into the design. Thinking about the touch points from when they arrive into a workplace to when they leave. Thinking about how those services can be simplified, how those spaces can be linked together, and how it can feel like a really streamlined, purposefully planned experience, very similar to many retail organisations. Then considering the services and how the service wrapper can really bring to life an employee experience programme or initiative. Considering things such as chef tables, recipe cards, any way that you can educate people on the services that are happening, the services that are available, and more importantly, how they can get involved. Considering well-being, this really covers well-being at work, as in the workplace, and also well-being at work at home. So thinking about those 6 components that I mentioned earlier, considering key elements such as the environment. What's the environment like in a workplace versus the environment for working at home? And I guess right now, it's more important than ever. Thinking about trying to have the right setup, being mindful of moving more, making sure that you take regular exercise, get up, leave the house, get fresh air, or perhaps do a class at home, virtual class, online class. But the most important thing is to try and remain active. At the moment, we're not moving in the same way that we did before. For most people, there's very little commute. People perhaps move from a living room to a kitchen, from a bedroom to a living room or a dining room or a study. So thinking about that moving more is really, really important. Also, they're thinking about digital and connections. Most of our days when working at home are spent in front of a screen. Very similar when in a workplace. And the most important thing is being able to switch off. So to switch off, to disconnect, and be mindful of how much time you're spending with technology. Thinking then around social connections, there's lots of ways that we as a supplier and the groups that we're working with can encourage those social interactions, creating challenges, sharing food photos, creating ideas and initiatives such as baking, recipes, sharing things that perhaps you do outside of work, just to bring that human element into everything that you're doing within the workplace. A really good, grounded employee experience programme puts people at the heart of every decision that is made. I'm going to just spend a minute or two now talking about nutrition in relation to wellbeing at work. For those organisations and clients who provide breakout space, coffee points, refreshment points, cafeterias or full-scale restaurants, there's a huge opportunity here in terms of education, knowledge share, and really upping that service level that we give to all of our people. Over recent years, we have seen a slow shift to the cafes and restaurants within workplaces becoming social hubs at the heart of that building. Recognising that with a few tweaks to the furniture or the layouts perhaps, adding in maybe some acoustic panels or divides, adding power in to different settings, you can really drive that space to be a very buzzy environment where people may go to not only for breakfast and lunch, They may go to pick up a snack throughout the day. They might go to grab lunch and take it away to somewhere else to head outside perhaps. Or more importantly, they will use it for an informal meeting, a catch up with a colleague, a team meeting that doesn't need to be in a meeting room. Just to go and get some time away from the desk by yourself and grab a nice coffee perhaps. And we're seeing that more and more. I've talked already around the blurring between work and home, and that coffee shop vibe has done incredibly well on the high street. The fact that people would choose to go in there, grab their laptop and work alongside other people. We're seeing an increasing shift to those spaces where appropriate and where there are no risk and compliance restrictions, also being shared with clients. So clients can get a glimpse into what exactly it is our people do. Now, there's always the point to be mindful of around conversations, and quite often what we tell people is you're behaving the same way as you would in Starbucks. So you're really mindful around confidentiality, but there's absolutely nothing to stop you sitting in there in that space, grabbing a coffee, catching up with a friend in the same way you would on any of the high street chains. The other part that we've got a cracking opportunity on here is around education. So helping to educate all of our people on the types of food to eat, the energy sources that come from those foods, and then the times to eat them. We all know, and we've all felt, that 2-3 o'clock sugar dip in an afternoon where you tend to reach for a chocolate bar or something like that. But by hosting things like chef tables, lunch and learn, education events, we really can bring food and drink to be a key part of our employee experience within our workplaces of the future.